Welcome to another exciting episode of Galea Kills Everything, your #1 rated daily weather program for the city of Metropolis, where Galea kills everything. We are here on remote assignment with our prime correspondent, Galea Kimone, and she is fighting the Black Hand on the far-off planet of Mournful Mogo. Does look like Mogo is not his cheerful self right now. Well, let's see if we can't help cheer him up by getting rid of at least one of his problems today. Black Hand is a Black Lantern, and I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, his backstory is fucking crazy. Like right between the Epstein list and an actual Stephen King novel. It is not something you want to get into. So we're not going to talk about him from a historical standpoint. Instead, we're going to unpack what he can do to you. So this video has been sped up. This original bounty took about 15 minutes. We compressed it a little bit just to go ahead and give you a bit more of an idea as to what the field looks like without having to wait. So your fight's not going to move this fast, not unless you're cheating or you're recording it and speeding it up afterwards like I'm doing. Anyway, Black Hand fights out of the Brawling fighting style. That does mean he has some susceptibility to counter game. In this situation, I'm going to recommend resisting this temptation. As always, low-hanging fruit. If you have an opportunity, take the opportunity. If you see him blocking, throw out that block breaker. If you see him getting ready to lunge at you and you can get him lock up, go ahead and do that. But I wouldn't mess with it too much beyond that. Simply from the standpoint that he has a crap load of different ability attacks. A lot of them track, and most of them are intended to do damage when you're up close to him, or do AoE damage, so you want to maintain as much mobility as you can. Now, speaking of AoE damage, let's unpack the rest of his abilities here. He does have two different AoE attacks. There's a small one and a large one. The smaller one is centered on him, and it does more damage. And when I say more damage, I mean up to 500,000 damage in a single shot. The large one comes from those balls that you see tracking you there, that dark energy. It follows you around, and if it gets too close to you, it will lock in an AoE zone and explode. You can potentially trick them into exploding prematurely by waiting in one spot, letting them get close to you, and putting out their AoE telegraph and then rolling the hell out of the way, which, if you have the space to do it, I recommend because it gets them off your butt. But either way it goes, you want to make sure that you're not in a zone where his small AoE and his large AoE overlap, because the combination of those two things is pretty much instantly lethal. He does have a few other attacks that are very worthwhile to mention. He has a couple of different pulls, one of which will stun you momentarily, so make sure you watch out for that, because it's going to make his AoE attacks and a couple of his other things a little more deadly since it locks you into place for a moment. Now, something else he does, he has a couple of different ad summons that are kind of a strange variety, to be frank. The one that we just saw a moment ago, he summons those black crystals. Those are like the black crystals that you have to destroy for the daily, which means if you get near them, they do damage to you. And they do take about 5 hits apiece to destroy, and if you're using a damage-based healing methodology like Lernia's or Red Tornado Redistribution Module, it's kind of terrible because they don't really take a lot of damage, so you get almost nothing back from the health while you're hitting them. And only certain ability attacks will even damage them in the first place, so if you can avoid them, but if you find yourself in a situation where you've got to do a lot of fighting in the area that he's in, take a moment here, knock him out, get rid of the ones that are kind of around where you're at, move back to what you're doing. Very simple stuff, very direct. The other thing he does, you'll notice that again here in a moment, he summons zombies. When I say zombies, I don't mean like the handful of zombies I summon here. I mean zombies with a capital Z, enough to fill an entire mall, enough to snap an entire George Romero flick, enough to eat the brains of everybody in an entire school bus at the same time. So how do we deal with those? You do need to kill them as soon as they come up, because they are going to overwhelm you if you don't. Nothing in this fight is a true one-shot, but everything here has the potential to become lethal very quickly if you don't address it in the correct order, and the zombies are no exception. So, in reverse order of occurrence, what are we looking at here for build? What are we looking at here for loadout? I'm going to recommend, obviously, mobility for your build. You don't want a character build that's going to lock you into place for this fight because you do need to be able to move around a lot. If you can build mobile channel, awesome. If you have munitions, fire, ice, that's a great way to build a mobile channel character. Build it. Otherwise, build something that's precision-based so you have a lot of opportunities to move around, and then use a couple of secondary attacks like Luminous Beam, your finisher, or AoE attacks like Psychic Prison, or even good old Telekinetic Blast. Just to give yourself the ability to move around but deal damage quickly and then go back to a mobile sort of situation. You don't want to use long-form execute channel moves like Omega is probably not a good idea in this fight. It does a crap load of damage, and I'm sure it would be great against the zombie horde, but it locks you into place for those 4 seconds. 8 if you screw up the charge up. I'm not using Solar Amp here, because Solar Amp locks you into place for 4 seconds. Other things like that. You want to minimize the amount of time that you spend in one place. The second thing is, and I already touched on this, but we're going to come back to it right now, because of the zombies, you want as much AoE as you can possibly pack into your overall loadout. There's a reason why I'm using the Hammer Throw Arrow Storm and Telekinetic Bolt in this loadout, because it hits, it does decent damage to him individually, but it helps long-bow ads, and that's really what you want to be able to do, because those zombies, you have to get rid of them or they will kill you. Aside from that, they're not always on the screen, so during that period of time, you can pretty effectively focus on Black Hand and just hammer, 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 hammer. He's got a lot of overlap in his AoE zones, he's got a lot of overlap in his ability attacks, but he doesn't have immediate switch type attacks. He's not like Murph, where he's just going to drop everything and charge you 4 times in a row, blast you out of the park, and ruin your entire day or anything like that. He's very telegraph oriented, so you can see a lot of things inside of his fighting style. And aside from his pulls, he doesn't have a lot of other stuns, so he's not going to lock you into place too often, though he's going to do it often enough to be problematic. The main thing to watch out for, again, is going to be those overlapping AoE attacks, especially the one that tracks you, and especially the one that's up close. You need to make sure that those 2 zones don't occur simultaneously, and the best way to do that is just to stay the hell away from him. If you can manage to make all of these different pieces come together, you can beat him. You can beat him solo. The other part of that conversation is, he's not the new hotness right now, but he's still pretty new, so it's pretty easy to find a group, and I guarantee you this guy's going to be a stop on any bounty train. So if you're having trouble beating him by yourself, hop on the train. Come on, ride the train. You can ride it. Woo woo. Come on, ride the train. It's a choo-choo train. Now, reward schedule is pretty standard for this guy. He does have the 8-mark box, a reward chest afterwards, and of course, there are countdown beats associated with defeating him. We are wrapping up here, and it does look like we are almost done. All we got to do is stay mobile for another moment or two, and we should be able to wait out the clock. Bam! Touch of death, folks. Well, be sure to tune in next time for another exciting episode of Galea Kills Everything. Goodbye, good night.